So in this mini lesson, we're going to talk about the cell membrane. The cell membrane which surrounds every cell of every organism. And there's a few key concepts that you need to know and remember about the cell membrane. Number one, the cell membrane is in two layers. As you can see over here in the drawing, there is a layer towards the inside and a layer towards the outside of the cell. And each of these layers are made up of these little molecules right here called phospholipids. It's a big long name for something so small. So our cell membrane is made up of two layers of phospholipids. And these phospholipids, with their interesting shape, they have what is referred to as a head, and then they also have tails. And the head and tails have very different characteristics from one another. The head actually loves water, and we give it the term hydro, which means water, and philic, which means loving, so water loving. But the tails, on the other hand, are the opposite. They do not love water. What is the opposite of love? That is hate. And so these are called hydrophobic, which, if you think phobia and you think fear, these are water fearing. And so in order to make sure that these ends never get anywhere close to water, they align themselves in two separate lines. And that's why we end up with two layers to the membrane. That way there's this zone in the middle where there is no water, because there is definitely water outside of the cell, and there's definitely water inside of the cell. But that way in the middle of our cell membrane, there is no water. So mostly our cell membrane is made up of phospholipids. But then there are these other things inside. We also have proteins. And these oftentimes serve as a channel or a pathway in and out of the cell. So if there is a molecule that we need to get into the cell that can't go through the cell membrane, it will oftentimes travel through the middle of a protein, because a lot of those proteins are actually hollow, like a big tube. Then we also have these guys up here. And these are called carbohydrates. So we already have lipids, proteins, and carbohydrates. Lots of our biomolecules showing up here. And our carbohydrates, their main function is they help cushion the cell from other cells, and they help identify the cell. Kind of like a name tag would. And those are our three main parts of our cell membrane. Now, what does our cell membrane as a whole do? We said, like, what's your job in the cell? What do we really need to know? That is this. The cell membrane controls what goes in and what goes out of the cell, which is a pretty big, important function. Regulating what comes in and what comes out really controls a lot of what happens inside of the cell. So those are the main points that we need to remember about the cell membrane.